Up there. Okay. So it looks like we're working now. So now a certain amount of this is going to be a recap of a conversation that I had earlier today and just kind of expanding on a bit of a talk that I had with a good friend, a coworker. Um, Now, the thing about this is that, okay, so the place I'm talking about specifically is I'm not talking about St. Augustine the saint, the Catholic saint. Although I am in the city that's named after him, St. Augustine, Florida. Now, I'm specifically talking about how we might deal with this here in the city. So, one of the basic things that and I'm going to be probably repeating this later on near the end. But one of the things to understand about St. Augustine is that in the attempts to appease those who want to keep the homeless people away, that we have unfortunately created a situation where, in some ways, if you're familiar with the phrase throwing the baby out with the bathwater, that is what we have done. I'll be back here in a minute. I don't think there's anybody watching right now, so I'm good. All right. Thank you. All right, so I've got the phone handy if somebody does want to call in. Let me type that number in the chat. Make sure I've got that right here. All right. So, in at 904. Yep, that's right. 373-8660. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and copy the link for the stream. And then we're going to go ahead and put this, where? We're going to put that here. Right, and there we go. Okay. All right. Now, I should be able to send this link to a few people who might care. We'll see. Whoever's here, thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience with me. Hopefully you're going to have a constructive conversation about homelessness, because let's be honest, it could happen to a lot of us in the near future. So that is really kind of the general gist of what we're going to be doing here. Just talking about that. So let's see. Copy that. And then send this. Ow. I think I got bit by an ant. Between the toes, just not a very comfortable place. Ow. Okay. And Okay. Nope, not what I want to do. Now I gotta set up a little bit more before I do this. Clearly. All right. So now, with what's going on here in Florida, actually throughout the country, we've got kind of a situation. Oh, hold on, that's not what I wanted to say. Together. All right, make sure I've got the right one on that. Okay, great. Okay. Hi. Okay. So, a certain amount of this is going to be a recap. Oh, that's the door. Okay. Is going to be a recap of a conversation that I had with a coworker of mine earlier today. So, one of the things that I have been saying for a long time is that unfortunately, and it happened right before I got here, as I understand it, but St. Augustine passed a few laws sort of in response to the homelessness problem here that I think inadvertently made it so that we have a different kind of problem than the one we once did. Now, so I do not know if this is true. One has to understand that as long as I've been here, I did not actually see what it was like before I was here. But here's the thing. When St. Augustine made it illegal to busk, made it illegal to play music, also for people to, made it very hard for people to sell crafts and that kind of thing in downtown St. Augustine, they made it so that anybody who had anything to contribute to the community no longer had a reason to be part of it. They had now been run out. They could find some other place where they could, play their music, do their craft, that kind of thing. We had a more thriving local music scene, let's be honest, when that happened, before that happened. But nevertheless, I think that one of the things that we have to understand is that anyone who, even if they're homeless, if they come to this community And one of the ways that they're making money is in a legitimate way. They are offering something in community. They are not asking, they are asking for money, but they're not asking any specific person for money in return for the music that they're playing. So, okay. They also, well, let's see other things. If they're making crafts and that kind of thing, clearly they're making something. And, as long as they're not, being aggressive about it, obviously. Now, so this is the thing, is that there was a sort of situation where everything got thrown out in the process of trying to deal with this. I actually inadvertently, not knowing the entire kind of history of it, changed the laws so that I could rent a space outside of the Visitors Information Center, where literally people used to just be able to set up, and I paid them money per month to rent that space. And that was one of their solutions to this whole problem. And in truth, of all the people who I knew who were there, who set up spaces, there was one guy who had been selling stuff there before when he was homeless, and now was selling stuff there as a booth vendor. And, whether the intent was to make it impossible for those people to sell there, that was the effect. So when that happened, so that was one thing that's already happening. But I guess I need to go back perhaps a little bit further and set the basic stage here. Those of you who do not know, I'm assuming most of you do if you know about St. Augustine, is that this town actually does a pretty good job of providing for the homeless on a general level. I mean, not great, but the church is here. There's clothing, there's food banks. It's a place where, I mean, honestly, if I had to be homeless somewhere, this would not be a bad place to be. And I know that's a horrible thing. Like, oh no, you just said exactly the thing. That's why there's all the homeless people there. But hold on. The problem is this: when we made it so that anybody who had any stake in the community, anybody who appreciated the fact that we had tourists. I mean, if you're busking, you appreciate tourists because they are going to be the ones giving you money. You're nice to them, theoretically. You're going to hopefully deal with them in a positive fashion, more often than not. Let me say that. So, that being the situation, you have people who are invested in the community. You ran them out. Now we've got people who are here. They're here for the free ride. And the only deal that we've made with these people is stay out of sight. That's basically it. And to a certain extent, I suppose you could say this has worked. Is it the best thing to do for our community? Is it going to be something that can very easily rear up and cause a problem? Yeah. Are there people who will tell you that right now it is a problem? Yes. Now, I'll tell you what I see. I think perhaps you might see the same thing as me. The homeless in St. Augustine here that are visible, the most visible, are the ones who, need most likely a little bit of shall we say, social assistance, quite likely mentally having some issues. The two that I can think of the most, my friend Daphne knows his name, and I should ask her. But there's a man who I haven't seen in a little while, but I mean, honestly, I have not been looking in the same way that I did before the pandemic. But there's a man who I used to refer to in my not always correct parlance as the air fighter, because he was always punching something that he was having an argument. He punched something, but he was incredibly nice, incredibly polite man. When it came to traffic, everything else, he was like, oh no. And all you had to do was show him the least bit of humanity and decency, and he showed it right back to you in greater amounts than you gave it to him. And I hope he's still around. I think he is, but I don't know. But one of the more visible ones. Another one, at least for me, I don't know who else may have seen her, but a little over a year ago now, I think, maybe more. But there was a pregnant woman who'd be over by the liquor store. What do? You send out men with guns, and that's what the police are in the end. And that's the problem in the end, is that it's the old adult woman. I've always figured that probably she just got to